Hello, how you all doing at home? I'm ED-SKaR, and today I have an out of focus box. There we go. This is the Enforcer Jetbikes from Mantic Games for Warpath Universe and also Dead Zone, because they're games in the same universe from what I understand. I have not played either of these games, but I have picked up some of the jetbikes because I'm writing a game system that involves jetbikes, and these were surprisingly cheap. And by surprisingly, I just mean they're cheaper than Games Workshop offerings, but that doesn't really take much. And as you can see, I haven't even opened the cellophane yet, so we'll be getting to that in a moment. I've noticed on the box here, we've got the various languages, and there seems to be an argument in between. Hi Nick. Good, you stay being Nick. How you doing? Between the languages, we've got this argument between jetbikes and motojets, and I actually think I prefer motojets. It just sounds cooler. Also, jetbike, like the bike part of bike, means two, like bicycle, two wheels. Hello Foxy Mitts, how you doing? Yes, jetbikes. Right, I also have on the desk a variety of tools, snipping tools, knives, and polystyrene cement. Now this tube of polystyrene cement is my favourite, and as you can see, I've used it quite extensively over the years. And there's not an awful lot left. But worse than that is, if you see this kind of gunk here, it's split, like the metal of the side here actually split open, and so I've super glued it shut. And so what may have happened since then is this has gone all dry and caked and horrible, and because it's not sealed properly anymore. So my very favourite poly cement may not be working anymore. And so I have this, which is a brand new tube of poly cement that I found in a box that's at least 10 years old, of the Humbrol stuff. This is the stuff that Airfix usually gives out in their the kits that come with poly cement and paints and a brush. This is the poly cement that comes with that. This is not very popular in the model making community, and so we'll see how well it works. We are comparing it to my favourite, so it's at a disadvantage already. But first, let's break into the box. through the plastic shielding. And slide them out. Interesting. They're not even on sprues. Weird. And of course, there it is. The most important part of the packaging. The Mantic Points token. Is there only one? Is there a second one? I've got to go looking for that. Oh no, it's just the one. Wow, that's bad value on the tokens there. Hello, Grandpa Werewolf, Cheap Jetbikes. Doing fine here at work. Hope the game writing is doing well. Yes, I'll talk about the actual game rules as we go along. I have managed to play test it. And it seems like it's going to work quite well. So yes, that is going well. More details later. But right, we've got them out of the box. So let's have a look at what we actually have. It's a kind of was surprised that there are no. There's no instructions. It's probably a fairly simple kit. I can work it out, given how many models I've made over the years. You know what? They've given us a box. Let's dump it out into the box, and let's see what we've got. Oh, look at that! Look at that! There we go. Look at all that detail. That's cool. I don't even know. I think this looks like the front. I've thrown the box to the other side of the room, so we'll have to work it out as we go. Look at that. Oh, I have actually accidentally picked up both sides. That. So that's on both pieces. It looks like that's an injection point that we may have to trim away. We'll look at that in a moment. But look at that. Look at that detail. That's so cool. I'm going to have a lot of fun painting this. There's lots of nice recesses for panel lining. There's enough open space that you can do all sorts of different techniques. These are good. I like. We've also got the crew. Or rather, the riders. So, from what I understand, these are the same armor as the infantry for the Enforcer faction for this game. Which, as I said, I've thrown the box over the other side of the room, so I've no idea what it is. I can't remember. And it says some on the Mantic page for these. It says something about them being compatible. So, I assume you can switch the arms around. Interesting. So the arms actually aren't in a solid connection. They're a little bit loose and wobbly, but I'm sure once you get some glue on that, that just means that I actually, strangely, although it's weird, I actually do like that. Because what that means is you have a lot of leeway with positioning. So it's not locked into being like rotating around a single axis of rotation. You actually have a little bit of wobble as well, so you can position it slightly differently. So it looks like the bag has 2 jet bikes. Oh, they have heads. I'm not convinced about the helmet, to be honest. That's something we may come back to. Let's quickly compare it to this other bag. So we've got one of those pieces, we've got some of these pieces, we've got biker in there. I see arms. Yeah, Okay. So let's assume that there's 2 of everything in here. Right, knolling, everyone's favourite part of model building. One of my lights is flickering, unfortunately. So pair everything off. What are these? What are these? Tiny little things. It's going to be fun to work out what that is. So at first thought, these look like a tail, but I'm pretty sure these are actually the front of the bike. So they're going to fit on something like, that's the wrong side, something like that. Nicholas asks, plans for crowdfunding? I'm not sure, because I have the business sense of a rotten potato. So I don't know how to do anything like that, and even if I kind of got stuck and got started, I'm sure it would go horribly wrong. It's the type of thing where I would have to hire a business person to do it all for me and kind of let them do it, and obviously give them a decent cut of what was made. A control panel of sorts. This is a very small part, so let's have a close look at that. That is detailed enough that you could kind of fairly simply paint that and give it a wash and it'd be fine. Or you could really go ham on fine details and painting in like a radar scanner on the screens and stuff like that. Yeah, that's going to be cool to paint. I don't know how much detail I'm going to be putting onto these. I wonder what these are. These look like they might be the guns, which I will not be using, surprisingly enough, because my like what I want to use these for is a sport, like sports racing. I will not be like militarizing the. Is that the? Oh no, these are different parts. They actually slot together. Huh. Interesting. Nicholas says TEO make a great Kickstarter crowdfunding document. That will be good to read. Yeah, a working out how to do stuff guide would be very sensible. So where's the other? Yeah, so it looks like these are like a multi-part engine bay. So let's give one part over there, one part over here of each of those. We've got a whole bunch of fins left over now. Oh, interesting. So it looks like there's not actually pairs of the weapons. We've got one of like pulsar plasma cannon sort of thing. We've got one of this maybe autocannon looking thing, and then we do have a pair of these. So these are probably the basic ones, whatever the options are in the game. And it's sort of a, they do look better the other way up, don't they? It's like, it seems like they've been inverted to glue onto the underneath of the bike. Right. Fins. Arms. Arm over there. That's good. Bit of loose cardboard. fin. Fin. Ah. Now, quite clearly, these are very, very similar, but they have a slightly different tab. And so, that's a left and a right. And then this is a left and a right. You can come over here. Aren't you glad you joined this stream to watch me go, these fins are very interesting. Look at these tabs, and me kind of very slowly going through the entire kit one by one. Wondering how my audio level is, given that my microphone is way above my head. Let's put it there. That's probably a little better. So we have this other type of fin, which I can't tell any difference with. I want to say they might be symmetrical. Have a look at this fin while I try and work it out. The attachment seems to be straight, whereas on the other one it was slightly angled. It's not offset. Maybe it is. It's got a slight chamfer to it. Yeah, there it is. Oh man, that is such a tiny difference. So, if I put these next to each other, let's get a closer focus on this. So if I put these next to each other, can you see how they both kind of slightly angle downwards, but only just? That, like this very last section here, very slight angle down. Whereas if I put this one, we can see that on the underneath of this new one, there's an angle up. That's the difference between these two. So what that means is that these two are a pair, because when opposed, they both angle the same way. And the remaining two are a pair. And now we have I'm not sure what these are. Ah, these might be the foot pedals. These could be potentially the foot pedals. But there's quite clearly a left and a right. So we also need these parts probably, and that. So I'm just going to slide that box out of the way. Over there's probably safe. And let's see about gluing these parts together. And not actually that many. Although I am just going to quickly rush across to the other side of the room and grab the box. Which wasn't as far away as I may have said. So looks like those are fins, and then those fins. So these are probably the more angled ones, and these are the slightly less angled ones. Okay. Well, I'll keep that handy, just in case I need to have another look. And oh, that's interesting. This is a different place. Are they different versions? What? Yeah, that's the same. But these are different. Is there something? There's probably some fundamentally ever so slight difference. There is. There is. Right here. There is a shroud around what looks like the grip. Okay. So this one's got a full shroud around the grip, and this one is more open. I'm not sure if that's a miscast or if that is deliberate, but the sprue connection points are different here. Let's have a look at this one. Is this one... No, these ones are complete on this side. And these ones are different. That's weird. Well, let's take the potentially broken one. Right. Let's actually start building now that we've gone through all of that rubbish. Ah, okay. I need to trim this a little more. That seems to need to go flat against there. Yep. Yep, that all goes together quite nicely, although it does want to pop apart. It's probably just because it's slightly curved because of the molding process. Not actually seeing any. So one of the parts of injection molding and the modern science of understanding exactly how the plastic moves when it's hot and when it cools and stuff is that you don't necessarily want to make the mold as an exact kind of an exact inverse of the part you want. It's more likely that you want a slightly offset version of that so that when the part cools it warps into the right position. And that's an odd thing to think of, but such is injection molding. One thing I want to check to make sure is, does the control panel go on before or after? It seems like the control panel can go on after quite happily. And the arms. Yeah, the arms can go on. That'll be fine. So I want to make sure, firstly, that I assemble it correctly, but secondly, I want to be able to paint the rider separate from the bike, just to make it a little easier to do. Okay, let's see how this poly cement behaves. I like on this part that they've kind of hidden the mold line down a panel line, so you don't have to worry about the mold line on some of the parts. We'll see on other parts. I will check them all. So one thing I don't like about this new tube already straight away in with the complaints is because it's full and brand new. is kind of slightly more difficult to be very exact with it. Like, I'm having to quite concentrate on getting the finesse of that. Let's squeeze that together and see how well it grabs. Oh yeah, that's pretty grabby actually. Oh no. Okay, a little bit of a disaster. The engine bay, kind of the first part of the engine motor, is keyed. Ah, oh, that's a problem. Yep, that was supposed to go on first. Oh, I checked the rider and I checked the console and I checked all the fins, but I did not check the engine. Well, that's fine. I'll just modify it to make it work. Shouldn't be too hard. So the squeeze out from this polystyrene cement is quite considerable. I was having trouble kind of applying it, so there's a little more than I would like. So that's probably part of that. Once I get the control of this new tube, I'll be a little more precise about that. Once that's set, we can take the files and the knives that I have here and clean that up. So Nicholas says, what is currently your favorite gaming system? Bolt action, without a doubt. It is fast, it is fun, it is complex without being convoluted. And that's something that I've never really been able to explain it. Like, I need to actually write out what I mean so that I can really articulate what I mean. But ooh, it stands up. Yay. Just the two halves of the body stand up. That different gaming systems, you can have a very simple gaming system and a very complex gaming system. But just because it's any complex gaming system, some of them can actually be very smooth and quick to play, and some of them can be like, well, okay, we have to stop and read through the rules and check this, and well, this does this unless it's that, but then in this situation it actually does something differently, stuff like that. And so there's a difference between just a complex game and a complex and convoluted game, and I think Bolt Action does a very good job of being complex enough to be a lot of fun, to actually think tactically. That went across the room. But also to be a nice, smooth, simple system. Well, not simple, but a nice, smooth, quick to play system that doesn't grind down to like this but that, except when it's this levels of just annoyance that some other game systems have. So yeah, Bolt Action, very fun. I would say Armada, Kings of War Armada specifically, is also a very good game system. That's the sailing ships one. So high fantasy, magic, dragons on the high seas. Right. Now that I've trimmed that out, does it fit? Yeah, it does not fit. Okay, I'm going to have to trim this even more. I think it might be easier to get with a file. So I just basically need where the T tab, the T-shaped tab, I've cut off the upper rungs, and I just need to make sure that it's narrower than the stem length all the way down, and then it will fit. Oh, it's nearly fitting. So one side of it has it is at the right size, so I just need to sand that corner down, I reckon. Of course, this could have been avoided had I noticed in advance. And I did check. I checked all of the other parts, just not this one. There we go. That fits in nicely. Does it need to go a particular way up? I noticed that there's a keyed slot in here, and the rear part of the engine has a keyed peg, so this can't rotate. Once it's fitted, it can't rotate. And so, is there a specific way round? That's definitely a wider section at the bottom. Does it line up with this part? It kind of does. You know? I suspect it's going to go in that way round. And then that will go like that. I can't see anything specifically that would line up any different way, so I'm going to go with that. Just getting a thin layer of poly cement over the entire surface. Oh, which way around did I say? That way around. Yes. Oh no. Ah, good. Just for a moment, it wasn't going in. And I thought I would have to hurriedly file away at the remaining material to get it to go in, but nope, that's fine. Now this part had a bit of a burr. There you go, sprue injection point right there. I wonder why these are all separate in the packet, because I would expect them to be put on all on one big sprue, but that doesn't seem to be how it's worked. So there's probably some reason for it. So this time I actually want the gap between these two parts, because there's a nice panel line opportunity there. So I'm going to put the poly cement on the inner contact surface of the keyed peg. And then hold that in place. So, what was I saying? Yeah, this I would expect it all to be made on a big sprue, because this is polystyrene, just like the vast majority of plastic model kits. But it's all of the parts were separate in the packet, which is just a little unusual. Now I am somewhat tempted, as long as I don't flick it across the room that is, I'm somewhat tempted that the control panel kind of console dashboard. I'm tempted to keep it separate so that I can paint it in fine detail. I think, can I get a brush in there? Like, if I'm trying to paint this with some detail, yeah, I can still get in. I can still get in there. That's fine. Oh, this poor brush. That's convenient because what that means is I can just glue it straight down. Again, panel lining opportunities. This isn't going to need much. Let's see. I just put a bit on this surface here, and then just a bit on the sides there, and then that should be enough to tack it down. Oh no. There is... Oh. Never mind. There's a bit of just a flake of something I'd already cut off stuck to it. Oh, doesn't that look... Look at that. That is so cool. This, to me, this has just a subtle hint of like a Honda fairing. Like a CB, one of the Roadster fairings. It's got just that right shape to it. There's a little bit Kawasaki in it as well, but that's just because it's sci-fi and, you know, Kawasaki. Let's see if I can scrape away this first. Oh wow, okay. So that's something to know about this particular poly cement. That was still very wet. So it has a long drying time. I wonder if that means I can scrape it out of these panel kind of vents at the front. Oh, that's kind of making a horrible mess. Ugh. Ugh. Yuck. Yeah, kind of as it's starting to set, you can indeed scrape it away. I think some of the rest of these I'm probably going to leave for the moment. So let's look at pedals or fins next. Pedals. Are they the pedals? Seems to go in like that. Does that match up with the body in any way? In fact, yes it does. Just quickly check the picture on the box. And conveniently, they've put this blur effect on the bikes, and it's very hard to see the actual foot pedals. I'm going to go with yes, because the model actually does fit, and it is pretty well leaning forwards. Let's try it with an arm. Does the arm make sense like this? Yeah. Yeah, the arm makes sense like that. Okay. Let's assume that that's correct, and if it's not, well, that's Mantic's fault for not including instructions. Right, check this part for mold lines. They're really done well with the mold lines. Oh, hello, I've just seen something. Something really helpful. Like, firstly, the mold line is down the edge of this part. It's like all the way down there, and so there's no need to remove it because it's supposed to be a kind of a corner. But what else I've seen is right there, the letter R. And I assume on this one, the letter L. Conveniently, right and left are marked. Oh wow, they are. Right and left, right there. Tiny, tiny. Yeah, all right. What I should probably do first is glue on the foot pedals, because they plug in nicely, but I want to actually fix them into place. This whole kit does click together quite nicely. It's not quite Lego click, but it is it's very satisfying clicks in a lot of pieces. I say that, and then this this doesn't actually click into place, these front fins. But so right one goes here. Although I am sorely tempted to leave it like this, because just that looks cool. It's kind of like a motorbike that's missing its front wheel. It does have that kind of vibe going on. This one does not want to stay in place. Let's give it some more poly cement. Oh, that's a little bit of more squeeze out than I would like, but there we go. Yep, they seem to be staying put now. Let's go for some of these other fins. So I think these fins go... yeah, they go in here. Are these also marked right and left? They are. Tiny, tiny little... There you go. A little R right there, so that you know which side to put it on. However, while that does look very cool, very menacing, I think they do fit the other way up and would actually form more of a cover to the... oh, that's a shame. They don't quite fit. Sad. I would love to have them kind of as a down-swept wing. It would kind of match the front in a way. Well, let's just make sure there's no excess sprue connection point on either of these. They fit in quite well. I think I'm going to be a fan of this poly cement once I get used to the tube. It's got just enough grab. So you can kind of place a model in place, place a part in place. Place a part in place. That is a sentence. Now, why aren't you going in all of a sudden? No, it's in. There we go. And it lines up. Look at this thing. It's so cool. I've just noticed that these are probably, yeah, they're fins for there. Check the box as well. Yeah, there are kind of fins sticking out of the side there. I'm not a fan of that, because that makes this quite wide. I think I actually prefer it just leaving the... Let's have a quick look. Kind of with these two parts, they stick out a lot more than I would like already. And it's kind of got this gap in the middle. Adding on these, almost like wings, just makes the whole thing that much just even wider. Although this has got a bit of sprue on it. Do you think Mantic are cutting the models off of the sprue themselves so that they can reuse the polystyrene? It's possible. Yeah, I'm not a fan of those little fin wings. It kind of just ever so slightly spoils the look. Whereas that looks pretty cool. Oh. Yes, of course. The one last thing that... where are they? Here they are. So the weapons sort of things go underneath. Like that. I mean, just visually it helps to fill the space. It's still looking a little empty right up at the front, but it helps. I wasn't actually going to add the weapons, but I think I might add one just to... yeah, like that. Just for the visual kind of filling of space. We can say that it's a part of the mechanism, an air intake, or a kind of... what are those things, those needles that stick out of planes so that they can detect the speed that they're flying at. Whatever that is, it's one of those. Except it just happens to look like a space laser. Yeah, let's go for this one. Let's try this one first. Nah. No, it's too stocky and kind of... I want it to be further. I want it to be kind of up here more. Which of these two is actually longer? Yeah, this one is actually the longer one. Not by much, though. Yeah. Yeah, for the aesthetic. I'll do it for the aesthetic. Now there's an old meme. Like, that is some vintage memery. So this part isn't quite as solidly secure as some of the others. If you see, that's ever so slightly wobbling side to side, whereas a lot of the other parts kind of almost clicked into place. In fact, some of them did. Just want to make sure that it's free of connections, and free of connections, that the connections are free of debris, to make sure it actually does stick together. Yeah, I think that'll go on. It doesn't seem to be contacting very much at all. Let's try these sides. Now, there we go. Yeah, I can feel that's connected. Right, make sure it lines up. Give it a minute to set. And while that's happening, I can actually talk about the game system so far. So I've done a quick play test. I did one game by myself, just with the initial version of the rules, and I thought I'd give it a few turns just to see how it goes, just to make sure it actually works and there's no glaring issues with it. And what I found is that after 40 minutes, I played a whole lap. And so certainly I like it. But then I did write the system, so that's maybe not a fair comparison. And so I got Ratman on Tabletop Simulator to also play a quick game. We played for about an hour. We had one bike each. And we played a very long lap. I think it was about an hour and a half in total that we played for, but that's teaching him the rules and playing a full lap, a big full lap. And he seemed to like it. He offered some suggestions for improving things, some like edge cases and what if this happened, kind of breaking the rules kind of thing. just to clean stuff up. And so I've made some modifications to the rules. I have also extended the the rules a little in terms of atmosphere and lore kind of thing, just to give it some flavor while you're reading it, because reading just a solid roll this dice, move your model like this, it gets a bit dull. So I'm throwing in some atmospheric stuff, some fluffy lore based stuff. This bike does look so cool. I think these being a bit closer together would be nicer. I do have a second one. In fact, I have 4 of the things. Well, I've got 3 more of the things. What I might do with the next one that I do is actually trim these down, see if I can bring these 2 bars as close together as I can. I don't know how successful that will be. I don't know how easy that will be. But I will certainly give it a go. Ah, I realised that there is, of course, the base to go. And we have Mantic's clear flight stand, which, ooh, that's interesting. So it's actually concave on the bottom. It's not flat. There is a bump in the middle where the peg attaches to. I wasn't expecting that. That's interesting. I actually prefer bases with a hollow underneath, because it means when you put them on scenery, they wobble a lot less. Because rather than finding a spot here and a spot here and a spot here to balance on, and then it's kind of rocking like that, you would always have 3 points of contact on the outermost rim of the base. That's a bad explanation. I don't know how to explain it any more succinctly. I will probably have to work that out. Huh. Oh, I like that. So what we've got here is a very short peg, but then this rounded section here, and this entire rounded section goes into the base. So the base goes all the way up to here. So it's a lot of contact surface for glue, for poly cement. There's a little bit of wobble as well, so you can kind of put it at a slight angle. Although maybe that's just because there's a nope, there's a little bit. Oh, that's solid. Yeah. Now that that's down all the way, that is solid. Same here. Clean off the sprue injection point. Oh, quite a bit on this one. There we go. Ah, Dr. Wongface, how you doing? Nice to see you again this week. Says, like a 3-legged stool doesn't wobble. Yes. Actually, that's a good comparison. If you have a 4-legged chair or stool, if any one of the legs is not exactly the same length as the others, then 3 of the legs will touch the ground, and that 4th one will be like, that will make it wobble. Whereas a 3-legged stool will always have the furthest point of contact being level. It might mean, like, if one of the legs is too long or too short, then the top surface of the stool will be slightly canted, usually not by enough to matter. And so, yeah, 3-legged stools are often, well, they will not wobble in the same way that a 4-legged stool or chair would. Before I put this peg on, let's see. Do I want it higher on the longer stem? Like that. Or do I want it shorter? on the shorter stem. I think we'll go with the shorter stem. See, the one problem with the Games Workshop equivalent of these, the bottom does tend to break, but not as often. But it's the top that breaks. This is the weakest point of the Games Workshop version, and this just seems to me like a very similar. It's 2mm thin peg at the top. So even though they've made the bottom a lot stronger, it's rounded, so there's no fracture, so there's no stress point, and it's got a lot of contact. So that's definitely a lot stronger at the bottom. But the weakest point up here is not actually improved very much at all, unfortunately. Let's see. I think the short one is tall enough. There's something to be said for putting them all on different heights, because that means you can put the models closer together. Like if I had this bike on the shorter stand, like that, then I could have them really. Thanks for that. Then I could put them as close together as this without the models touching, because this one would be slightly underneath it. I think I will go for the taller one for this one. Yeah, let's go for the taller one. One thing I will do, because of how well this fits, and I'm quite happy with this, that fits in nice and tightly, as you can see, supports the entire weight of the bike. I'm not going to actually glue the stand into the bike, because what that gives me the opportunity of doing is putting these on a different base later on, and I can just unplug it and put it on a different base. Huh, I wonder. I've actually got a Defcopter with a very nice base. It's a 60mm round base with one of those metal the metal ink cartridges for pens. Right, so I'm not using those two guns, and I have decided against using these fins because I think that they're just a little. Where did they go in? Oh, there. Just the whole thing's a little. Yeah, I'm not liking that so much. I think it looks better without them. Yeah, I'm staying with my my idea there. So I'll put those back in the box. And we will get the rider done now. So let's move this a little further to the back, and let's see what we've got for the rider. So that's another base. Body, rider's body, and the other. Fin, engine, arms, engine, fin, weapon, stairs, 2 more arms. Yeah, so that's all of the parts for the person. Yeah. There must be a mold line on this guy somewhere. There must be. Mantic's plastic molding is so much better than Games Workshop's. This is just absolutely like pristine. Like I can just about see if I can get it on camera. just on his side. There, you can just about see the mold line. Where's my focus? Yeah, right there. And now if I run the back of the knife over it, it's just gone. Just like that. I mean, there's a slight flat spot over on the knife, but that's normal. Should probably have used the file, but that's fine. There's a spring injection point right up at the neck. Although, to be honest, if I just smooth that out, it's centered. It almost looks like it's meant to be there. Spring injection point on the toes. I could quite happily have built this with no cleanup whatsoever. Just cutting the actual sprue connection points off, and I would probably not notice it. Okay, so that is this arm. Yeah, so this is going to be a bit of fun to get this stuff to line up. To get this to line up without gluing it all down. If I was gluing this down, this would be easy because I just glue that part in to the bike and his shoulder, and then that would be it. But to actually make it to glue it to the rider without gluing it to the bike is a little more challenging. I think if I get both arms on relatively quickly. I forgot to clean up the mold lines on the arm, or the sprue connection points. Yep. Disaster. Right. Store the hand in. Line up the shoulder. There we go. I made that more difficult than it needed to be, but that is in place. Oh, hang on. So on the box, on the artwork here, some of these guys, like this one right here, has a pistol in his hand. This is probably the same model that's just been duplicated. But that option isn't in the box. I wonder if that's what they meant when they said compatible with other Enforcer kits. It actually doesn't include all of those parts. Foximit says, "You, more difficult than necessary? Never." Why would I ever be difficult? I've never been more difficult. Ah. So now, how do I get the bike out? Yeah, I can do it. Okay. Kind of slotting in very difficultly. It may come to the point once I've painted it that I have to break one of the arms off to glue him in place. That's fine. I'll deal with that as necessary. Oh, I guess that's what these are. So, if you do include an arm from another kit, like one of the pistol arms from the rest of the Enforcers line from Mantic Games, you will need a handlebar, because these included arms are holding onto the handlebars. If you have an arm that's not holding onto the handlebars, you still need a handlebar. So that's what these are, these separate pieces. And so, what else I can do is grab me a head. I could fairly easily kit bash. I've got so many hands that are roughly the right size. Yeah, I can definitely make like reposition the arm, cut away the hand, replace the hand with something else, and then I can use that handlebar to fill the gap where a handlebar should be. That was an odd way of saying that. Oh well. Just a subtle mold line around the helmet. I have to say that this on the helmet is probably the worst mold line of the whole kit, and even this is still almost non-existent. That's nice and cleaned up. How do we get this in? Kind of just like that. Interesting. So this is obviously a torso from the normal infantry kit that's not kind of leaning his head back like a biker would. And so there might be a little bit of a gap right at the top of this. I'll kind of show you a close-up just once I've got the head in place. Yeah, that's all good. Let's have him looking slightly to the side, be a little more interesting than just dead straight. So what I mean by that, and let's actually get the other one out to have a closer look. So the head in a helmet, it's kind of an odd shaped helmet, but it has a ball joint for the neck, which is pretty good because you can position it in a lot of different poses. I should probably take it off to show it. Yeah, so you can kind of turn it to the side, or you can kind of have it leaning forwards or leaning back a little bit. But this jet bike has the angle of the body all of the way back here, and so to have the head even remotely level, you kind of have to push it all of the way back like that. And this part of the ball joint on his throat kind of sticks out a little bit, which is not ideal. And if I just close up on there, you can kind of see that that's the ball joint kind of his throat sticking out. And that kind of slightly spoils the effect. And I think, again, this is just coming down to Mantic has made this compatible with their infantry Enforcer kits. So you could put this helmeted head on one of the others or vice versa. But that just means that the neck doesn't quite work at this angle. That's a shame. Would have been nice to have a slightly different body so that you can maybe use the same heads, but the neck and shoulders are slightly rotated forwards to give that angle, kind of put that angle where it should be. Anyway, that is the whole thing complete. I shall leave this to set once, because this poly cement takes a little longer than other kits, than my old the Revell stuff. It has passed the test. It is good stuff. Behaves slightly differently, so I'll have to I'll have to get used to it, but that's fine. It works well. But yeah, because it takes slightly longer, I'm going to leave this in place to fully set before I pull off the rider, so that I can paint them separately. Let's see if I can get at this kind of right here. If you see that shiny spot, that is some squeeze out of the polystyrene cement from the very first glue join. Yeah, even that. It's been, what are we at? We're at 8:17 now. So it's been probably getting on for an hour since I actually got started on that first join, and it's still slightly tacky. Yeah, here it is. That's going to be something that I have to get used to, because this is going to take just that little bit longer to, well, quite a lot longer to set than I'm maybe used to. I wonder if down here at the front, these ribs here, if I could run a triangular file not that one, not that one, not that one, there we go, that one. Could I run that and cut a Yeah, I can. So because of the kind of the glue joins of this part here, rather than desperately trying to clean out the gaps and also the mold line, if I just run this, it's a triangle shaped file, so it's got like a what would it be, 60 degrees, 60, 120, 180. It's 60 degrees, right? So that'd be a 60 degree wedge essentially. And if I can use that to cut evenly down the middle, I can have a nice, fairly neat detail. It's not the original detail, but it's, as long as it's neat, well, as long as it's neater than the poly cement. think when I do the other one of these, I will be a lot more careful about squeeze out on this part. Usually on polystyrene model kits, and actually a lot of other situations as well, squeeze out is something you actually want. Particularly in woodworking, if you're using resin to attach bits of wood together for a fancy table. Having some squeeze out means that your join is completely filled. You know that it's completely filled all the way through with the resin, and then you can cut away and sand down the outer surface and have a nice smooth, neat edge. Whereas if you don't have squeeze out, you can end up with gaps and lumps, which means that it's not only structurally not as strong, maybe not a big issue, but it could be depending on what the join is, but certainly the aesthetic. I've said aesthetic too many times in this stream. Yeah, because that's such a kind of not a focal point of the model, but it's a very visible part of the model. It's on the top and it's right at the front. The fact that I've kind of made that quite messy is a little unfortunate. Right, can I... Okay, so the rider's easier to get in and out than I had feared. So essentially, as long as it's not glued off, just up at the feet and it slides out. Cool. But there we go, after what, an hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes, our jet bike is complete with base and everything. So the question now is, for the rest of the stream, I don't want to stop just yet, we'll carry on for a little bit longer. Do I speed build another jet bike, get the second one done and ready, or do I build some of this other model kit that I have lying around and show off some Celtic warriors? And these will be from Warlord Games, I think. Yes, Warlord Games. They're all covered in woad and they have spears and shields. If everyone's okay with a massive jump from science fiction to 2,000-year-old history, we can have a look at that. I think I'll build one. These probably shouldn't take too long. Although there's quite a few of them. There's several of them, and not only are there several of them, in fact there are 40 of them in the box, but these are the cheapest models that I have ever found new. So I'm not talking about second-hand prices, I'm not talking about discounted prices, I'm talking about standard retail. These are the cheapest models I have ever seen. And these are they've gone up in price in the last couple of weeks. A lot of things in the UK have, unfortunately. Can't avoid that. But these have gone up from about like 52 or 53 pence per model to like 58 pence per model, something like that. So the box has gone up by 2 or 3 quid. But yeah, let's have a quick build of these. They're not there's not many parts. You've essentially got the legs as one piece, torso and arms as one piece, and then a head. And then you've got, if you want to add a shield and spear, you can add in an extra piece there. That's pretty much it. So let's grab that one, and so I'll show this up close in a second. The reason why I'm choosing specific ones. That one. Right, close up. So here is the sprue of the cheapest models of all time. You know, this dude with his ridiculous 8-pack muscles in his stomach. And then you've got this one with a tunic, and it's all ruffled at the front because he's leaning forwards. Elsewhere on the sprue, actually I should probably show off a full sprue, shouldn't I? Yeah, full sprue. So we've got shirtless ones, we've got ones wearing tunics, and we've got some wearing chainmail, like chainmail vests. And on the legs, you can see that some of them have, like, they've all got a belt, but some of them have like a little bit of the tunic sticking out from under the belt. Some have the chainmail sticking out from under the belt, and then some have nothing sticking on the from the underneath of the belt. And so, not necessarily limited, but they are supposed to go, like, the one with the tunic goes with the tunic legs, and there's some more tunic legs there, so there's a little bit of variety you can make. But for the 10 models on the sprue, yeah, I mean, they are super cheap, so I'm not expecting a massive variety of options and posability and all the rest of it, given that they are so cheap, mass-produced stuff. Kind of another thing related to that is because they are more cheaply manufactured, the moulding is not as nice. I mean, it's still fairly good. It's not so much mold slippage as, like, just a relatively pronounced mold line. But yeah, there you go. That's a mold line gone. Grandpa Werewolf says, Celtic, cheapest ever. Sounds good. My Highland ancestors would approve. And Foximits agrees. So this is where mold lines are at their worst. Yeah, okay, not worst. Games Workshop manages to make new ways to make mold lines worse. But just one of the more general difficult places for mold lines is in folds in clothes. Can you see? Let's focus a bit closer. Yeah, so the mold line is going across these folds, and so running a knife over them would kind of flatten out the folds, whereas I actually want to keep the folds. And so what I've got here is a round circular profile file, that I can run at least into some of the bigger folds and maintain them. It's not perfect, but I'm probably not going to be gunning for perfect with this set. Yep, that's cleaned up. I'd almost forgotten how to do mold lines with that jet bike, but here we are, doing mold lines. Focus is there. Because my focus is so close, I'm basically kind of leaning over my camera. In fact, you can see it in the webcam shot. This is the camera I'm using to record this, and I'm very close to it. So I want to make sure that I'm actually keeping the model in focus, because I can't see it. I can't see what you're seeing while I'm working. Yeah, mold lines on the underneath, not so important, but at least give them a quick going over. If it ends up being a flat spot, that's also fine. Yeah. Ugh. This is going to be difficult, because I have to do this without slipping and cutting the sword off. And again, we've got the folds in the clothes. These are actually kind of finer folds, so almost what I need is a different profile file with kind of a corner, and run that in each. Of course, if it had teeth on the corner, that would help. No. Maybe. Does that have... It's got something there. Okay, this side has teeth. Is that some loose bit of rolled up mold line that I've scraped off, but it's kind of still half attached. The sword's not too bad. Kind of, obviously the mold line runs down the edge, so it should be relatively easy to clean. Yeah, that's fine. That's a relatively long sword for this era. That's like... It's like a meter blade length. That is very long for this era. Well, this is more like 200-300 AD, so maybe not that long. But certainly it's a longer sword. They've all got swords of about that length. I would expect some variety in length. Anyway. Let's give him a shield. And we have not many shields to choose from, because I've already... Well, my sister has already used up some of the models from this sprue. I saw this this box and thought, wow, that's such a good price. I have to pick that up. And then I realised I didn't want really 40 of them, so I'm kind of slowly giving a few away here and there. So my sister's had some. Fox emits, there are some coming to you at some point. And there's also some going to Ratman. I'll probably send up a sprue for you and Ratman to share. So that's 10 between the two of you. However you want to split it. enough for a little bodyguard at least. Yeah. So we've got a central. Oh, what's the terminology for shields? Oh, it's been so long since I've kind of looked at shields. But there's essentially a wooden board with a hole cut in the middle, and then a metal. It's called a boss. It's like a metal bowl put over the hole, so that when you grab onto the handle is directly down the center of gravity of the shield, rather than being like if there was no hole, your hand would have to be on top of or rather behind the shield, and that means that the shield is weighted forwards. But by moving your hand inside, it's much better weighted, and that was done very early on. Right, is there an up and down? Don't think there is. No, good. That also means when I glue the hand in, the hand should be kind of well below the back surface of the shield, because it should be inside the boss, at least somewhat. Right, so let's get him. There's a little bit of mess on the inside here. Yeah, it's a bit better. So if I kind of slightly twist, focus, there we go. So if instead of putting him just straight on, if I twist him slightly so that he's leaning up into a sword swing, so he's got his shield out front, going for an overhand sword swing, I think that will be quite cool. To be fair, that's probably what this model was intended for. Ooh. That's always dangerous when that happens. So one of the few downsides of a metal tube of polystyrene cement, I guess of other stuff as well, is that if you're pushing on a big kind of part of the tube like this, there'll come a point where it pops inwards, where it goes from convex to concave, and that has a massive increase or massive decrease in the internal volume and squirts out more glue or whatever the thing is than you actually wanted. That could be annoying. Alright, heads then. Right. We got a shouty dude. We've got an angry dude with a bowl on his head. We've got these two heads look identical, to be honest. Big flowing locks. What have we got over here? No, look at that moustache. Look at that moustache. Oh, we're having that one. Look at that. Look at that moustache. That's great. That's how it's done, my dude. So doing a little maths, because there's actually some interesting things about this box. Because you get 3 of this standard sprue with 10 models, swords, and 15 heads. You get 3 of that. And then you get a 4th sprue, which is the command sprue, and you get 10 models on the command sprue as well. You still get the spears, but you don't get any heads. You get, like, in place of this, you get the horns and the banners and things. And so in the box you get 45 heads for 40 models. So there's still some variety, there's still some choice. And actually only 3 of each type of head, because it's only the standard sprue that comes with it. Oh, way out of focus doing this. So this guy is, unfortunately, this glorious moustache, he is completely bald and has a horrible mold line all the way across the top of his head. Trying to smooth out and round out a mold line on a part that's this small is quite difficult. I would much rather you had attached the head to the sprue by the neck, because then it doesn't matter if you've got this sprue injection point, you just slice it off as messily as you like, and because that's the bit that glues to the neck. But no, they've done it. They've done it in the way that you have to shave off the sprue on his supposedly smooth bald head. Ah, I've just realised the ones with hair are going to be worse. Oh, these are attached by the chin, and these are attached by the top of the head. What, attach them? What? All the games, why you do this to me? This good, this bad. It's on the helmet's not so bad, because if there's a flat spot there, it's just battle damage. But this one, cleaning up that hair, oh boy, that's going to be difficult. That's going to be quite difficult. Right, because I've got this at an angle, I'm going to have to cut an angle into the neck here. Oh, it doesn't like that at all. Oh, I've just squidged around everything that I've already done. Because this poly cement, I need to remember, it takes longer. Takes longer to set than I'm used to with the other poly cement. There we go. That's gone on nicely now that I've twisted that around. See if I can I get it any further. Yeah, that still looks alright. Doesn't quite line up at the back of his neck. That would help if he had some hair to cover that up, but oh well. There we go. That is my first Celt of getting on to 40. Well, if I give out, I'll have at least half the box. I'll have at least 20. But there we go. He's got you in his sights. Sights? Do swords have sights? They don't have sights. He's going to have a hack. Let's go back to the jet bike just quickly, because we might have the arms. Yeah, the arms are dry enough that I can clean up the mold lines that I forgot to on the arms. In comparison, these mold lines are almost non-existent. I haven't decided on colours for the jet bike. That's something up in the air. I want it to be a, obviously because it's for a sports motorsports jet bike. I want it to have like colourful the kind of racing team colours that you get in, well, in motorsports, alongside some, like, I'll put on some free-handed adverts down the side, some like sponsorship deals, that kind of thing. I'll just invent some fake companies for that. And here are the models that I have made today. I think we've got enough time for one more of the Celts. There's plenty of them. I may as well get a shift on with them. This guy here looks like he's carrying possibly a spear, or I'll tell you what. Let's make him one of the command guys. I can show you that other sprue. So one thing to do, because they're on pudding bases, let's at least clean off the bottom first so that they sit flat. Because I think I forgot, yeah, I didn't do that on this one. There we go. Yeah, once I finish this model, we'll end the stream. So if there are any last questions about stuff that I am getting up to, videos on the way, or just random other model related things, post them in the chat and I'll answer them before the end of the stream. Let's get that fold and that fold. There we go. Oh, it's on his foot as well. Don't mind about the ground, because I'll probably do some form of texture paste will go on the pudding base, so I'm not worried about that. One thing I'm slightly annoyed about is that the box, like the description for this box says that they're supposed to come with bases, and I thought that meant that, I mean, it's Warlord Games, they supply everything with these 25mm disc bases, so I thought they'd come with those in addition to the pudding base, but they didn't. This just comes with the pudding base, so a little bit sad, because it means that I have to have them on the pudding bases. But what I'm sort of planning on doing is to make a multi-base, I guess you'd call it. So have 3 or 4 of them on a, like maybe a 50 or 60 millimeter ring, 50 or 60 millimeter round base, and then I can just glue the pudding base to that larger base, be nice and strong, and then I can texture over it to create the kind of, just to make it look like they're all standing in a huddle together. And that also means when it comes to the battlefield, I can kind of have an easier time of moving them around. It's like a regimental base, same concept. I will need to have some way of marking wounds. What I might do is do a few multi-bases and then do a few solo. And so as they take wounds, as the unit takes wounds, I can take off individual ones, and then when there's enough I can take off the multi-base and put back the individual ones, sort of. Or I could have a section, like a raised plinth in the middle that can hold a D6, and you can put a D6 on and that's how many models are left alive. That might be interesting. Yep. Right, let's have a look at that command sprue. Which one is it? Yeah. So you can compare, this is the 2 different types of sprues. You can see that everything is exactly the same. All the spears, all the legs, all the torsos, they're all the same. Except at the other end, this last section is different. So on the standard sprue, you've got all the heads. And then on the command sprue, you have all of these bits. And so this looks like some kind of horse head? Snake? Like that looks like a horse's mane to me. Some kind of horn, certainly. It's got a mouthpiece at this bottom end. And then we have 2 banners. This one's got a deer with some absolutely enormous antlers on, and then this one's got an elephant, a pig. I'm not sure. I don't know. We also have a bird of some description, and the bird has what's clearly a slot for a peg. Does that go? Where does that go? don't know. I don't understand. Yeah, so there's the horn. That's the... It looks like it's got a pig snout. Yeah, okay, so that one is a boar or a pig of some description. I guess I'll have to take it off the sprue to really understand it. But then down here we have these last two pieces are heads that have their hair tied to be trophies of previous victories, and they are quite clearly well, they're old. They're starting to decay. What shall our little guy be? Shall we have him as a horn blower? Kind of holding the horn like that, or should we have him holding the pig? Yeah, I think we'll have him holding the pig. That looks interesting. I always find it interesting with this sprue is that there are quite clearly some little nubs that were possibly intended for something to attach to, but they're not attached to anything. The other sprue is the same, because there's a head on each of these ones, but then there wasn't a head on these. These are just flat. So probably they're in the... Do they line up? They actually do. Interesting. So this is almost certainly part of them being part of the kind of a mostly duplicate sprue. Certainly an odd way of doing it. But yeah, they've taken most of the sprue and then they've just modified this one bit to fit the other parts that they wanted. Weird. Interesting. Right. How are we doing for mold lines here? Yuck. Here's the answer to that question. Yep, that's definitely a piggy snout. Somehow, on a two-part mold, they've managed to get the nostrils on the front, like right in between the halves of the mold. That's impressive. There we go. So we can actually have that glued to the base as well to make it just that little bit extra strong. There we go, he's got his nice little stick. Yeah, he just needs a head, and once he's got a head, we can roll off the stream. Heads, which heads do we give him? Do we give him a helmet? Or do we give him hair? I think this one, with the hair. Yeah, that's not great. Just like I suspected, the top of the heads with hair, kind of having a mold line across hair detail like that. Particularly when it's going to be worse for the ones with the sprue point here. So at least there's that. Well, yeah, the sprue connection for this one was under the chin. Where's that one? And there's a little nub under his chin from the sprue injection, so we can just smooth that down on the inside as long as it glues to the neck. It shouldn't be visible. Yep, that's going to be good. So interestingly, this poly cement is also leaving kind of dried lumps on the end of the nozzle if you leave it open for too long, and that's actually a good thing, because what that means is that it has some aggregate in it. Aggregate just being some extra, in this case plastic, but some extra material so that when it dries, the like it's all been mixed in together and forms a solid piece. But there we go, there's two Celts, one with a nice banner and this guy's having at it with his sword. And we also have, as was the point of this stream, my first jet bike specifically for the Landsight jet bike racing game. So this will need painting, and I also want to give it a cool base because I mean this is fine but I can do better. Right, I don't see any more questions in the chat, so with all that done I will wrap up the stream. So thank you everyone for coming past. Thank you Dr. Bongface, thank you Grandpa Werewolf, Foxy Mitts and Nicholas for popping past. I have a video coming this weekend. Hopefully I get... I've been making a battle mat. The old acrylic caulking on a canvas trick. I've got that all done. I just need to edit the video. Hopefully I can get that fully edited and up by Saturday. Otherwise it will be one of my Gaunt's Ghosts videos again. Back to the Brush is on the way still. Stuck in editing hell at the moment, unfortunately. We'll get that out sometime. And yeah, next week I will do... I don't know what I'll do for my live stream. I have not yet decided. Comments are welcome. You can leave that in the description once this becomes video. Otherwise, Grandpa Wolf says objective and secondary objective. Well done. Thank you very much. Objective and secondary objective. Models about as far away from each other as you could get. A science fiction and a historical. But yes, let's wrap up the stream. We've had a good run. We have been successful with primary and secondary objectives, and so thank you very much for watching. I'm ED-SKaR, and I always will be. End stream. Yes, end stream. Ah.